How is death like running a long race? Hey friends, it's Pastor Mike from Fellowship Church. Always enjoy connecting with you midweek. Hope you're having a wonderful week. Hope you're staying dry in the midst of all this rain. That thought for you again. What if we thought about death like running a long race? Now, I don't know if the story is true, but there is a story told that about 500 years before Jesus was born, there was a battle, a war. It took place between the nations of Greece and the nation of Persia. It was over territory, as wars often are. It was over some shipping lanes and rights and so on. Greece was far outnumbered. The Persian army was a world power in those days. So when Persia came to town, Greece was shaken in their boots. But somehow Greece prevailed. They won that battle. And the commanding general wanted to get news back to the king as quickly as possible. The problem is, the battle took place about 25 miles away from where the king was located. King was in the city of Athens, Greece. So the commanding general ordered one young man named Phidippides. I hope he had a nickname. Phidippides was supposed to run all the way back to Athens and give the good news of victory to the king. Now, I don't know why Phidippides didn't find himself a horse or some other mode of transportation, but apparently, as the story goes, Phidippides ran from where the battle took place, get to that in a moment, all the way back to Athens, delivered the good news to the king, and then died at the feet of the king of complete exhaustion. I think I'd die after 25 miles of running too. Interesting thought, that battle took place a location called Marathon, Greece. And a number of years later, when the Olympics began, they decided to hold a race in memory of Phidippides' triumphal run. Now, they could have called it the Phidippides, but nobody wants to run the Phidippides. There is a statue of him today in Athens, Greece, by the way. So they named that race after the city from which it began, where the battle took place, and they called it the Marathon. And even though Phidippides ran about 25 miles, they've expanded the marathon out to 26 miles, 385 yards. Who added that 385 yards at the end? I don't know. Today, people run marathons all over the world. My daughter is running a marathon in Indianapolis this weekend. She didn't invite me, and I'm okay with that. So, Pastor Mike, what's this marathon thing and all this running thing? Didn't you say something about death? Yeah. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 6 through 8. It's when the Apostle Paul is writing to his young protege named Timothy, and Paul is giving him some final instructions. And then Paul says goodbye at the end of the letter. And shortly after that, to the best of our knowledge, Paul lost his life. And Paul writes these words, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith." Now think about that. I fought the good fight. I finished the race. I kept the faith. At this point in time in his life, Paul has been a leader of the Christian movement for several decades. He must be exhausted and tired. And so he can say to Timothy, it's been a fight and it's been a race, but I kept the faith. And for Paul, crossing the finish line must have felt like such an incredible sense of accomplishment. Friends, I wonder if you and I would think of death differently, and I wonder if you and I would grieve differently if we thought of life as running this long marathon of a race, and then death is crossing the finish line. And that triumphal feeling when you cross that finish line of saying, I arrived, I finished, and now I've arrived. I'll tell you, I've seen some races in my life, and that feeling of kind of euphoria amongst all the runners at that finish line when they finally finish the race. Maybe that's what death feels like. Maybe that's what heaven feels like. That sense that I finished, I just kept going. I had times when I wanted to quit. I just kept grinding it out. And now I crossed the finish line. I wonder if you and I would grieve differently if we could say goodbye to people, knowing that they've crossed the finish line and now their race is completed. I wonder if that would change the way you grieve. I wonder if that would change the way we think of death. And maybe, friends, maybe it would change the way you live your life by thinking that right now, you're running a marathon too. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Just keep grinding it out, because the finish line is out there for all of us. And we want that same sense of accomplishment when we finish too. I hope that impacts the way that you think, not only of life, but of death as well. Friends, it's always good to connect with you midweek. I hope that you're having a wonderful week. Know that we love you and we are praying for you. Take good care of yourselves. God bless. Bye-bye.